Hello my YouTube legions. I'm standing in front of Bushcat Tom's hangar and it is as cold as a brass toilet seat in the Yukon. Why am I out here freezing my butt off? Well, because Bushcat Tom's my little brother. And you see, he hasn't broken out yet. And so I'm going to give him a shout out on my channel today and we're going to do something special. This is what we're going to do. Drum roll, please. We are going to do a pre-flight inspection video of the Bushcat. Oh yeah, stay tuned.
I'm Bushcat Steve. I worm farm for a living and fly bushcats for fun. Follow along as I get into the dirt and up into the air in the exciting world of worms and aviation.
Step one, take a gander. You want to approach the Bushcat real slow like and realize that you are in the presence of greatness. You just want to look at the plane and admire its form.
This first step can take anywhere from a minute to 2 hours, depending on how gung-ho you are for the Bushcat. But for me, this is way off the gung-ho meter, and it's right up there to the humdinger meter. All right, so step number 2. Drum roll, please.
Number 2, sumping the fuel. There are 3 sumps underneath this Bushcat, 2 for the main tank and then 1 for the gasculator. Gasculator, I think, is this filter doohickey thingy. And you got to get on your hands and knees in order to sump the fuel. And while you're down there, you can thank the Lord Almighty for allowing you to have such a magnificent airplane. Sump 1, sump 2, and the gasculator. All right, you want to make sure that the fuel is clean. Make sure there's no water in it. Make sure there's no little floaty things in it. Make sure there's no dirt and whatnot. Now this fuel looks pretty clean, and that's the way you want to keep it. And make sure that you dispose of it properly. Number 3, drum roll. Number 3, checking the oil. Now in order to check the oil, you got to reach in here behind the passenger side back cowling and you want to feel for the oil cap. And then, wait a minute. You know, I don't know what's going on here, but my brother's plane seems to have some kind of flamingo infestation. I've never seen this before in any other Bushcat except this one. It's really weird. So I guess if you do find one, just toss it. All right, let's try it again. We're gonna reach in, we're gonna get the oil cap off and pull it out. There it is, see there's the oil cap. Now you wanna put this in a place where you're not gonna lose it, all right? So for me, I just put it in my shoe. All right, now we got the engine. All right, and in order to the engine, we got to turn the prop over. Now, what that does is get the oil mixed up in the engine real good. And when you do this, you want to make sure that you stay out of the prop arc, okay? You don't need to get your head thumped to remind you to stay out of the prop arc, because I'm doing that for you. I'm reminding you, stay out of the prop arc when you pull the prop through. Got it? All right, let's do this. And a 1, and a 2, and a 3, and a 4. Ow! Steve, you idiot. Didn't I tell you to stay out of the prop arc? You are as dumb as a bag of hammers. All right, we burped the engine. Now we just get in the dipstick here and gonna check the levels here. Oh yeah, see right there, right in between the lines. We are good to go. Put it back. And now the next step. Drum roll, please. Number 4, eyeballing the interior. Now what you're gonna need is one of these little flashlights. Now this one's about 1,000 lumens, so make sure that you don't look directly. Oh. All right, first thing I'm gonna do is check my brakes, my brake lines. I wanna make sure that they're not kinked. I wanna make sure that they're not leaking in any way, that everything's gotta be free and clear over here by the rudder pedals. I'm gonna be turning on my fuel valve right here, like that. And then I'm gonna check my control stick, up and down, back and forth, make sure there's no hindrance in any way. Checking my control cables here. My wing bolts, make sure they're affixed good. All the other bracket bolts back there. And here, hey, seat belts. Make sure that the seat belts are affixed, because if they ain't, you're gonna be heading through that windscreen in a sudden stop. So yeah, you don't want that. What you want is them to find your body belted in. That'll show everyone that you were safety conscious. And then check to make sure you got gas in the tank. All right, coming on to the other side, I'm gonna check my headsets, make sure they're here. And there's 2 of them, that's good. And then down here, I'm gonna look at my brake reservoir, make sure there's fluid in there, and do the same on this side, making sure that there's no leaks in the brake lines or no kinks, and everything is free and clear. Then, I'm gonna go up here, check my flap handle, check both settings, and I look at them here as they're going up and down. Yep. All right, everything on the inside looks good. Now we take our key, we're gonna put it in the ignition and make sure it's in the off position, and then make sure the master switch is off. All right, next step, drum roll. All right, number 5, checking the lights. So turn on your master switch, and then turn on your position strobe, turn on your landing lights. Now let's go check out the wingtip. All right, as I'm coming around the bend here, you want to make sure that you don't look directly into the landing light. Whoa, oh, oh. All right, it's on, it's on. And then you got the right position light, that's green, and the strobe, left wing will be red. All right, that's good. They're on, let's turn them off. All right, that's done. Next step, drum roll please. Number 6, the left side walk around. All right, to do this, we're gonna start with the windshield. Windshield, we wanna check to make sure it's all nice and clear, no cracks, no damage, everything's looking good. See that Bushcat logo? That's awesome, that's awesome. All right, starting from the windshield, now we're gonna look at the door. And this door has got a little stick here, a little prop stick. We'll take that down, and we're gonna take a look at that. See that door? That door's looking good. I wanna make sure those bungee safeties are on the hinges right up there, and that's looking good. So we're gonna put this stick back. No damage to the door. Plexiglass looks good. Locking mechanism's good. All right, now we're gonna drop down here to the gear. We'll make sure that the gear looks good. As we're looking underneath here, we've got these bolts here. We got torque seal. See that torque seal? make sure that those things aren't broken, okay? That'll give you an idea if that things are still tight, all right? So gears looking good, strut mounts, strut bolts, gotta be looking good, and they are. Now we're checking the tire. Tire is looking good. You wanna check the pressure. The way you do that is by doing this. That's 18.9 pounds. Now, 16 to 20 pounds is good, but 18.9 is perfect. Here's the brake calipers. Make sure they look good, no leaks. Make sure all the torque seals are good. Checking the wheel bolts here, they look good. Everything is tight, everything is nice and sturdy, just like it's supposed to be. All right, coming up now, gonna check the leading edge of this wing. As I'm looking at this leading edge, I wanna make sure it's nice and smooth, no dents, no cracks, no damage of any kind. Also, I want to check out these little shark fins and make sure they're all nicely affixed. These shark fins are called VGs. That stands for vroom goobers. And they'll take a bunch of knots off your stall speed and turn your airplane into a real STOL performer. And that's what this Bushcat is a STOL performer. And every bush plane needs to have vroom goobers. So check all the vroom goobers, make sure they're all good and on. I'm coming to this strut. The strut needs to be nice and tight. Make sure that's looking good. Make sure the jury struts are nice and tight too. Checking all the bolts there. Going to the leading edge here. And now we're coming to the pitot tube. Now this pitot tube flag is not supposed to be on here. You got to take it off, all right? So you take it off and put it somewhere where you're not going to lose it. For me, the best place is my shoe. So let's put it in here. Okay, so check the pitot tube. Make sure it's nothing in that hole. Okay, if you see something in that hole like a bug, get it out of there because that's got to be clear. Looking at the landing light again and the wingtip, make sure that's all affixed. I always like to grab the wingtip, shake that plane real good. If something's loose, you know. Check the landing light here and coming around to the aileron. Aileron, one thing you want to check on the aileron, or a couple of things, are the hinges and the cotter pins. You need both in order to survive. So there's the one hinge right there and the cotter pin. That's all good. I'm walking around here, checking the aileron fences, make sure they're on good. Aileron compensators, make sure they're on good. Everything is tight, everything is where it's supposed to be. All the connection rods here. On this side of the aileron is another hinge and cotter pin. Don't forget to check the hinges and the cotter pins. You gotta make sure those things are on. And also, please be aware that the Bushcat has these zippers. See, these zipper accesses on the bottoms of the wing. You want to make sure that they're all on real nice and snug. Make sure none of them are open, because if they're open, you're going to be in a heap of trouble. Now looky here, see? Somebody's been messing with this. This one's open. Oh man. Flamingos. Flamingos. We gotta close these things up. Man, Tom's gotta do something about them flamingos. All right, coming back up here to the flap. The flap, you just want to give it a good wiggle. Make sure it wiggles. All right, there it goes, there it goes. Then you want to check the hinge and the cotter pin, just like all of them. And over here too. Check the connectors. Make sure everything is ship shape. That's looking good. Now the fuel cap. Fuel cap's right up here on top. Want to make sure that's snug, but not too tight. You want to make it too tight, then you can't get it off. All right, it's tight. It's tight. All right, so now coming to the fuselage. You want to check to make sure there's no dents or damages to the frame. You want to look underneath, make sure everything is clear. And you want to look inside. So here what you do is you got your baggage door. Well, it's not really a door, it's a door zipper. So the baggage zippers go open like this. That way you can look inside at the control cables and make sure that they're free and clear. Okay, all clear. So now we zip it back up. Zip like that. And zip like that. And now the next step. Drum roll, please. Number 7, tail inspection. Hoo-wee, look at that tail. That's massive. All right, let's start on the tail. See this little fin here? It says no grip. So what you want to do is you want to grip it and then shake it real good and make sure it's on. Same goes for the horizontal stab. This thing needs to be on too, and you lift it and you push on it and you make sure it is on, and it's still on. So use tension wires, make sure they're tense. There's some on the bottom here too. Okay, tension wires got to be tense. We'll come around here and we got the elevator. The elevator's got hinges and cotter pins. See right there? Want to make sure the hinge is good and the cotter pin is good. You know what happens if you don't have a hinge and a cotter pin? You're going to die. Here's another hinge and a cotter pin. You know what's going to happen when you don't have one of these? You're going to die. See this rudder up here? See that cotter pin? That hinge? You know what's going to happen if you don't have one of those? You're going to die. Now I know this is making you nervous, and I get a little nervous when I'm looking at the tail because everything depends on everything being good on this tail. And if it means being a little nervous, that's okay, because being a little apprehensive makes you a better pilot, because you're going to check out stuff like see this little cotter pin here. You know what's going to happen if you don't have that cotter pin? You're going to die. So you got to make sure you got that cotter pin. It's okay to be nervous. Checking the hinges, checking the cotter pins, checking the tension wires. You got to check over everything, especially the tail. Hey, you want to talk about nervous? Finding a box of cotter pins in the cockpit when you're at altitude. Oh no. No, you want them here on the tail. So check them all. You got elevator cotter pins and hinges. Got the rudder cable cotter pins and hinges. Make sure they are all on. Don't miss anything when it comes to the tail. Cotter pin, hinge. Checking the horizontal stab. It's still on. Look at that tail. That tail is a piece of work. That is art. Next step, drum roll. Number 8, the right side walk around. Now, I'm thinking, we already did the left side thoroughly. So you know that the right side's just going to be the same. So let's not bother. I mean, look at the time. We got to get up in the air, right? Yeah, let's just forget all this stuff. We don't need to be checking this because we checked the other one. Well, you know, I'm having a little fun with you. I'm doing this for educational purposes. Just because the left side's right doesn't mean the right side's right. Or something like that. So let's do the right side right. Here we go. Flap needs the wiggle. Wiggle's normal. That's a normal wiggle. You want to check cotter pin and the hinge. You want to check all the control cables, jury struts. Down here by the by the struts here. You want to check that. You want to check the gear and the tire just like we did before on the other side. Check the pressure, huh? 18.8. Not bad. You keep between 16 and 20. 18.8. That's perfect. Caliper's good. Wheels looking good. All the torque seals are right. Checking the zippers. Nobody's been messing with these, it looks like. Struts on this side. Okay, there's the other hinge and cotter pin for the flap. That's looking great. Aileron fence, aileron compensator, everything is tight and bolted on properly. Checking the hinge and the cotter pin for the aileron on the right. All right, coming on to this side of the aileron, checking the cotter pin and the hinge again, and the wing tip here. We already looked at the lights. Going to give the wing a good shake. Make sure the landing light clear glass is fixed. Now we're going to check the leading edge just like we did the other leading edge. Make sure there's no dents, no cracks, no damage. And also the vroom goobers. Checking to make sure they're all on. Them little shark fins, man, I love it. Don't they look good? They look good. All right, all the vroom goobers looking good. Leading edge looking good. All right, jury struts, making sure they're nice and tight all the way around. Checking all the zippers. Zippers gotta be all closed up and nice. That's looking good. All right, we're gonna do the same with the right door than we did with the left door. Gonna take the prop stick off. I guess that's what you call this thing, a prop stick. Bring the door down. Check the hinges, check the safety bungees. They're good. Glass is good, everything is good. We'll put it back up. Put the prop stick back on for the time being. Like that. All right, we are nearly done. Next step, drum roll please. Number 9, the front part. We want to inspect the nose of the airplane. First, follow the connectors for the cowl. Make sure that they're all on. You see them here and here and here. And there's a couple down here at the bottom. And while I'm down here, I want to check the exhaust stacks, make sure that they're on tight. Only do this when you know the engine's cold. Make sure them exhaust stacks are good. Then the nose gear, make sure that's tight. Want to see all the torque seal on the nose gear bolts on properly, everything intact. Looking here, looking here, looking here. All the bolts are good. And we want to check the pressures. Let's go ahead and do that. Yeah, 18.9. That's perfect. That's good. All right, very good. And now we want to come and check the inlets, the air inlets for the engine. Because sometimes, you know, squirrels get in there and birds make nests in there, and yeah, and flamingos get in there. I'm going to check it all here. All right. Check up here. Everything's clear and good. All right. Here's. All right, so inlets are clear. That's good. I'm looking inside there, making sure that the coolant reservoir has got some coolant in it, and also that the coolant tube is full of coolant, because that's how it's supposed to be, I was told. All right, so, all right, now we're going to check the prop. Check the leading edge. You want to run your fingers nice around the leading edge and also the trailing edge. Make sure there's no nicks or cracks or anything that looks like it's broken. So you do that for every one of these prop blades. Right here and right there. Check to make sure the spinner's on good. Bolted on right, there's nothing loose. All right, that's pretty good. Checking the connectors here and here. Here and here and here, down here, and there's one at the very bottom right here, Everything is on good and tight. All right. All right, there is just one more thing to cover. It's probably the most important thing, and we're going to do it for the next step. Drum roll. Number 10, use your checklist. Do not commit your pre-flight to just your memory. Use a checklist. Now, if you notice, I didn't use a checklist when I was actually doing the pre-flight, but I am now as a follow-up. So either do it that way or the other way. Either use your checklist when you're doing your pre-flight, or you use your checklist after your pre-flight to follow up on it, because you don't want to miss nothing. Nothing. You hear me? This is really important. All right. Hey, we're done. We're done. This plane is ready to fly. This plane is ready to take to the air, safe and sound. Are you ready? I'm ready. So you know what the drill is. Like this video if you do. Subscribe if you haven't. Come be my worm man. Peace.